Hey, this is Angie for Happy Healthy Vegan, and I'm back in the Happy Healthy Vegan kitchen for another food demo. So winter is a time when you will definitely find a lot of kale at farmers market. Now this Sunday farmers market was closed due to torrential rain, so I actually ended up shopping at Whole Foods, and I actually found the same deal that I normally get at farmers market, 3 kales for $5. So I always get a lot of responses to the photos of kale that I put up on Instagram.com/happyhealthyvegan. So I thought it was high time that I shared with you my kale chip recipe. So for this recipe, I'm using what's known as curly kale. It's kind of the classic kale. In fact, when I was growing up, I had a job at a pizza parlor and we used this stuff to cover the ice in the salad bar, and nobody ate it back then, but it's a popular food group these days. So I have tried it with the Italian kale before, but I really think curly kale holds the spices better. So I realized as I was getting my ingredients together that I made a slight boo-boo and I forgot to get more cilantro. So just know that my recipe would normally include some cilantro. So for these ultra cheesy kale chips, I'm going to be using 3/4 cup raw sunflower seeds, 3/4 cup raw cashews. Now, if you're super concerned about fats, you can always substitute squash for some of the seeds or nuts. I found that that makes it still quite creamy and delicious. Now, for the cheesiness, you are going to want nutritional yeast. Red Star is usually readily available in grocery stores. I'm going to have a host of spices here: turmeric, smoked paprika, chili powder, and cumin. I'm going to do a dash of organic tamari sauce. And then I'm going to use a host of citrus. I've got some limes and some lemons here. These are Meyer lemons as well as a navel orange. I've also used pink grapefruit, quite delicious. I have a little bit of celery and red bell pepper. And you can use fresh chilies or red peppers if you have them. I'm not finding them in the market right now, so I will skip that. To add some tomato umami, I'm gonna add in some sun-dried tomatoes. Historically, I've always used my Excalibur dehydrator with these Teflon sheets to make kale chips in, but I'm going to attempt to make them in my oven using parchment paper on a regular baking sheet with my oven set to its lowest temperature. Now, I've got to admit that I'm nervous because I've always made my kale chips in the dehydrator set at about 118 degrees, which if you've ever followed a raw food diet or are following one now, you know that people believe that food is still raw if heated at only 118 degrees or less. But as I'm not raw anymore, and I know that many of you don't have dehydrators, I thought it was high time that I tried out the oven method. And looking online, I see people have done kale chips at as high of heat as 300 degrees. So I'm setting my oven at about 250 and crossing my fingers. So first things first, you're gonna wanna remove the leafy part from the stem. So there's a lot of ways you can do this. I generally rip it with my hands. You get little bite-sized pieces. So this is my first colander full of clean kale. You may need 2 big bowls to store all this stuff. One for the kale that's ready to go and another for the dipping sauce that you're going to be dipping all your pieces of kale into. Now, side note, you can hold on to all these stems and use them in your juicer for green juice. Alright, so now I'm going to combine my cheesy topping ingredients in my high-speed blender, starting with the nuts. Now, normally I would let these soak for a while, so what I'll do is I'll put the nuts and seeds in along with some liquid, and then I'll start measuring out the rest of my ingredients. It'll give it a little bit of time to soften up. And go with sunflower seeds. Now I'm going to start with 1.5 cups of water, and who knows, we may need to add some more as it goes on. Did you guys see that? I cut my finger right on camera. The video's not over, I guess. The show must go on. I realized I forgot to show you guys black pepper earlier, so I want a teaspoon of this. It sure doesn't seem like much, but my notes say a 1/4 teaspoon smoked paprika, so that's what I'll do. I guess I don't want it to get too crazy. Cumin is an ingredient I use quite frequently, and I'm getting a bit low, but my recipe calls for a whole tablespoon of this. My notes called for a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, but I'm gonna live dangerously and put a whole ½ teaspoon. It doesn't seem like much, does it? My recipe calls for a tablespoon of chili powder, and this one is really kind of exceptionally hot. Now, I always taste my stuff and then, you know, add from there, so we'll see, we'll see. The texture seems really good. It's very gloopy. I'll spread on just fine. Won't be needing any more water. Now, as to the flavor. Whew, yeah, it's definitely got a kick to it. And so I originally put in 1 tablespoon of lime, just adding a second. That's really good. This would make a good dressing on its own. Well, since I have that cut on my finger, I thought I should use some rubber gloves while I do this so I don't get any hot spices in the cut. That wouldn't feel good. So anyways, I guess it's more hygienic this way anyway. So just go ahead and pour some of the stuff right into your big bowl. I might move this out of the way. And it's tough cooking on camera, but so I brought my baking pan over here. Take your clean and dried kale and put it into the dipping sauce, and you thoroughly coat it on all sides. I'm gonna kind of show you guys here. Normally I would be, I don't know, watching some serial content on Hulu, like The Path or something, or listening to The Weeknd, but I'm just alone with my thoughts and you guys right now. And then you're going to be laying out all the pieces onto your parchment paper. Oh, this one didn't get any sauce on one side, so back into the bowl. So as you can imagine, this is kind of a lengthy process, I guess, depending on how anal you want to be, and I don't know, you guys, I'm kind of anal. Here's my big fat tray ready to go into the oven. So this is my first time cooking in the oven, so I'm a little nervous, but I'm gonna set my timer for 30 minutes and we'll see what's what. Right, a ½ hour has gone by and this is definitely not ready. Very, very wet. Okay, so they just cooked for another 20 minutes and they are very gooey, except for maybe like right around the edges. Oh, here's one that's crunchy. No, if only they were all like that. Alright, so I've got 2 trays more here in the dehydrator. These won't be ready till tomorrow. Okay, so these have been in here for a full hour, and yeah, there's more on the edges that are, ooh, that looks really good actually. But the ones in the middle are still all moist. It's so frustrating.
Similar but different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd totally eat these.
Yeah. Okay, so it's the following day, and I've got my chips from the dehydrator. They were in there basically, I don't know, 9 or 10 hours versus the ones that I did in the oven for a little over an hour, and I mean, they really couldn't be more different. Wow, it's crazy how different it looks. Yeah, to me this tastes burnt. Bombed. To me this tastes perfect. So for me, personally, owning both a dehydrator and an oven, I'm sold. I'm gonna keep using the dehydrator because I just feel like there's pretty much no way to ruin these things in the dehydrator. It gets drier and drier, but the nice thing about the dehydrator, as I've noticed, if I just leave them in the if they seem a little overcooked for some reason, which I don't know how they could, when you leave food in the dehydrator, it just starts reabsorbing moisture from the air and things will get soft again. Whereas this was in the container overnight and it's still that same, I don't even want to eat those, the same burnty flavor. So if I were to do it in the oven again, I don't even know what I would do to ensure that they didn't burn. I mean, maybe I should have took some of the people's advice to flip them over halfway through. Maybe I should have put less sauce on them so they could crisp up quicker and I could get them out of there, but anyway, that's my experience trying to make kale chips in the oven. Not nearly as good as a dehydrator. So I hope this has helped you. Let me know how you make your kale chips in the comments down below. What are some of your favorite ways to flavor them? This is just one way that I flavor kale chips. I've also done them in more of an Indian curry style way as well, or just like a more plain cheese flavor without all the spice. It's not pretty spicy actually. You may want to cut back a little bit on the chili if you don't like a lot of spice. So yeah, so leave all your kale chip tips in the comments down below. Like this video if you're in it, share it with a friend. Stay subscribed for more vegan content from the two of us here at Happy Healthy Vegan. And until next time, keep it carb, baby. Keep it carb.